Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your life to come and listen to me for a while. I really appreciate it and I hope that this finds you well. This week I wanted to talk a little bit about calling all matriarchs. Dear matriarchs, I am dedicating this podcast to all our matriarchs, a call out, if you will. They teach, as do every one of you out there, the leaders within yourselves that you might not even realise you are. You are the ones who have been silently holding the fort, the ones who have been keeping the fires burning and the champagne chilled, the ones who have been fearless yet gentle in the face of adversity. You are the backbone of the families, of your families, the glue that holds everything together. I mean, how many times have you been told that? Even if it's only once. Most of us have been told that one way or another in holding everything together. If not already, it's time for you to recognise your own strength and your own worth. It's time for you to see yourself for the amazing woman you are, the one who has been through so much and has come out the other side with grace and dignity. You are the ones who have faced challenges head on, who have kept going even when it seemed impossible, who have given so much of yourself to others. You are the ones who have raised children, who have instilled values and morals in them, who have taught them right from wrong. You are the ones who have taken care of aging parents, who have been there for your spouses through thick and thin. You are the ones who have worked tirelessly to build successful careers, to make a difference in your communities, to create a better world for those around you. And yet, you might not even realise how strong and inspirational you truly are. You might doubt your own abilities, your own worth, your own place in the world. But let me tell you this, you are absolutely amazing. You are the ones who have been there for everyone else, and now it's time for you to be there for yourself. It's time for you to recognise your own greatness and to own it with pride. Am I a matriarch? It's very possible, Bob. So, my dear matriarchs, I want you to take a moment and reflect on all that you have accomplished, all that you have overcome, all that you have given and give to those around you. I want you to see yourselves for the incredible women that you are, the ones who have made a difference in the lives of so many. I want you to feel proud of yourselves and to recognise that you are the leaders within yourself. It is time for you to step into that leadership role and to own it with confidence. It's time for you to inspire others with your strength and your grace, which you will be doing anyway. I'm just trying to put a voice to maybe some of us out there that don't even know it. It's time for you to be the ones who keep the fires burning and the beers chilled, but also be the ones who light the way for others to follow. So, my dear matriarchs, I call upon you to recognise your own greatness, to own your strength and your leadership abilities, and to inspire others with your natural kindness and your courage. You are amazing, and it's time for you to see that for yourself. Let's all raise a glass to the incredible matriarchs out there. You are the ones who make the world a better place, a memorable place. You make a place that holds interest and mystery, the good stuff. What is a matriarch, you may ask, for those that don't know, for those who wonder? A woman who rules or dominates a family group or state, specifically a mother who is head and ruler of her family and descendants. Our grandmother was the family's matriarch, for example. Matriarchs are the unsung heroes of families and communities. They are the women who, whether they like it or not, assume the role of leader, caretaker, the keeper of secrets and promises. They are the ones who first, in the night, they get up first in the morning and are the last to go to bed. They are the pillars of strength that hold families together and guide the next generation. These women may not have even considered themselves to be leaders, but their actions and their influence on those around them speak volumes. They are the ones who ensure that their children and grandchildren are fed, clothed and loved. They are the ones who provide comfort and support during times of sorrow and celebrate during times of joy. It is true that The matriarch is also the keeper of secrets and promises. They know the inner workings of their families and computers, I was going to say, and their communities, and are trusted to keep confidences. I know this as I am the matriarch in my family because everyone above me have obviously all passed away, but and I do know what's sort of going on within each of my daughters' lives, and there are things that I don't repeat to the other daughters, and then there's the choice that I have to make sometime to make sure that they know something so that they're not judging a situation harshly because they don't know what's actually going on. So matriarchs, they are the ones who can be counted on to never reveal what has been shared with them, even when it's difficult to keep silent. They are also the ones who keep promises and follow through on commitments, even when it requires sacrifice on their part. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about matriarchs is that they are never repeaters of promises kept. They live their lives with integrity and do not need to constantly remind others of their accomplishments. They lead by example and inspire others to do the same. Matriarchs are role models for those who refuse to accept the gift of leadership. They teach us that leadership is not about titles or positions, but rather about the actions we take and the impact we have on those around us. They show us that leadership is about service, sacrifice, and putting the needs of others before our own. And so matriarchs are the backbone, aren't they? They are the ones who provide guidance, support, and love. And I know that people that I have met in my life who were not my mother have offered fantastic guidance and support and love where I just wouldn't have been able to find it anywhere else. And so I just honour and respect these women for the invaluable contributions that they've made to my life, to our lives, and to follow in their footsteps. Matriarchs are the ones who always seem to know what to do in any given situation, don't they? You ask a question or you're sharing a problem, and they just seem to be able to take charge, and whenever everyone else is floundering, and they always seem to have a solution to even the most complex problems. They are the ones that keep the family together during times of crisis and who provide a sense of comfort and security to those around them. So I could be describing right now who might not be your mother, it might not be your grandmother, but it might be an aunt or a dear friend or somebody who's just taken you under their wing. And if it is your mother and grandmother, I think that's absolutely wonderful. You've got aunties and grandmothers and women that have helped you. And I think often matriarchs are not given the credit they deserve for the work they do. They may be seen as just another member of the family or as someone who's just simply, doing their duty. But the truth is that these women are so much more than that. And that's why I wanted to dedicate an entire podcast calling on all matriarchs, because they are the ones, as I've said, who make sacrifices to ensure that their loved ones are taken care of, and they are the ones that put others before themselves. So what is a leader? So I thought I'd have a little look and see what the latest meaning of a leader is. A leader is someone who inspires passion and motivation in followers. A leader is someone with a vision and the path to realising it. A leader is someone who ensures that their team has support and tools to achieve their goals. And you may ask, what is the role of the leader? I didn't ask. That's all right, Bob. A leader is someone who is in charge of organising, managing and guiding others. They are visionaries who motivate and encourage their team to reach the desired outcome. Sounds awful like a matriarch in a natural habitat, if you ask me. Is it awful? No, Bob. Despite their importance, matriarchs often do not consider themselves to be leaders. And that is actually an observation I've made with many people in my life who don't see themselves as, not necessarily maybe even a leader, even though they are. They don't realise how powerful they are or what they have to say. People actually do listen. And quite often it's because they're never told, and no one's turning around going, thank you, you're a wonderful cook. Whenever we eat a meal with you, we always feel that, our souls also being replenished. There's so many ways that this can be. And some women who have made remarkable feats of bravery. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Night Witches. I stumbled across this and cannot believe that I had never heard of them. The Night Witches was a World War II German nickname for the all-female military aviators of the 588th Night Bomber Regiment of the Soviet Air Forces. So from 1942 through to 1945, these women played the role of harassment and tactical bombing. The Night Witches, that's the name the Germans made up for their nightly terror, 80 or so female aviators from Russia dropping bombs from rickety wooden planes that sounded like brooms sweeping the sky. These pilots who flew more than 30,000 special missions were among the bravest fighters in that terrible long war. Another brave woman, Elizabeth Cochrane Seaman, better known by her pen name, Nellie Bly. Oh my goodness, what did Nellie Bly do to change the world? Let me tell you, in 1887, under the name Nellie Brown, she had herself committed to an asylum. How determined was she to reveal the cruelty and disgusting conditions in asylums? She was only 23 in New York for 10 days so that she could expose the horrible conditions there. Her report on the asylum and later reports inspired change, and she helped to pave the way for women in journalism. Her stay there sparked outrage, legal action, and improvements of the treatment of the mentally ill then in the 19th century, and that was 1887. There is a school of thought that believes human society was originally matriarchal. From around 1.5 million years ago, women were revered as priestesses and honoured for their ability to bear children. Archaeological evidence such as ancient Venus statues seems to support this. And Amazons were long considered a myth. These discoveries show warrior women were real, right? I remember hearing about this years ago, but there wasn't any evidence to support it at the time. So for a long time, modern scholars believed that the Amazons were little more than a figment of ancient imaginations. These were the fierce warrior women of ancient Greek lore who supposedly sparred with Hercules, lived in lesbian matriarchies, and hacked off their breasts so they could better fire their arrows. I know. Homer immortalized them in the Iliad, eons later. They played a central role in the Wonder Woman comics. Some historians argued that they were probably a propaganda tool created to keep Athenian women in line. Don't you just love that? A woman loves knowing that she's been kept in line. Ooh. Another theory suggested that they may have been beardless men mistaken for women by the Greeks. But a growing body of archaeological evidence shows that legends about the horseback riding, bow-wielding female fighters were almost certainly rooted in reality. Myths about the Amazons, homosexuality and self-mutilation are still dubious at best, but new research appears to confirm that there really were groups of nomadic women who trained, hunted and battled alongside their male counterparts on the Eurasian steppe. For a while, people have assumed that myths about the Amazons that the Greeks told were just fantasy. Now we have proof that those women did exist and that the lives of those women warriors really did influence the ancient Greek ideas and visions of what they said about the Amazons. In 2017, Armenian researchers discovered the remains of a woman in her 20s who they said resembled Amazon myths. They found that she died from battle injuries. The report in the International Journal of Osteoarchaeology noted that she had an arrowhead buried in her leg and that her bone and muscle structure indicated she rode horses. The new discovery in Russia marked the first time multiple generations of Scythian women were found buried together according to the researchers. The youngest of the bodies may have belonged to a girl roughly 12 to 13 years old. 2 others were women in their 20s, and according to the researchers, the fourth was between 45 and 50. Findings suggested that young women were trained early on, just like boys, to ride horses and use bows and arrows. The fact that you have a range of ages is important because people previously thought that mothers wouldn't be out fighting because they had children. Before the development of DNA testing and bioarchaeology, researchers often assumed that any excavated tomb or grave that contained weapons and human remains belonged to a man. But new analysis has already shown that about 1/3 of armed Scythian skeletons, I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong, unearthed in such digs were women, she said. Just because there are weapons doesn't mean it was a male burial, she said. That assumption has long gone out the window. Don't you just love that? It's absolutely fascinating. Many moons ago, I was a gym coach, and I was privileged to meet about 7 ladies who ranged from early 70s to late 80s at that point, and it came to my attention that a number of them were widows, and so what I did was organise a cup of coffee, that we would all get together and have a cup of coffee. And what happened was everybody enjoyed it so much that we decided to do it on a monthly basis. Now, as the years went by, they supported each other, became really great friends with each other, and went on holidays with each other. They even had sleepovers. It was just the most wonderful thing. And I had the privilege of getting to know them really, really well. So there were times when I was totally 100% aware that I was sitting in the company of 7 matriarchs who had been there and done that, and their stories were just straight out of the best movies you would have ever seen in your life. They were loving, they were kind, they were intelligent, they were talented, they were smart, like amazing, just amazing women. Unfortunately, we've lost one now. She's passed, Patricia, and we don't see each other as much anymore. The pandemic sort of slowed our meetings together, and then when they were getting together, I was still working, so there was a lot of time I couldn't get to be with them. But the point I'm trying to make, given that it is calling all matriarchs, is that I send the utmost respect and love to these women because they gave me so much. I invited them to my wedding and told everybody that they were my mother-in-laws. They thought that was fantastic, so much so that I'd asked them if they'd bring a photo of, say, their son, and just put a picture of my face on the bride, and they did. They actually did do that. They brought that to the wedding. And one of the ladies yelled out, "What about the children?" It was a fantastic night. And I'm sure there were people there going, "Oh my God, this must be her 8th husband." Well, it wasn't, but anyway, but it was so funny and so fun, and they just made my life so full. And their generosity and their kindness and understanding and wisdom was wonderful. So this I dedicate this to the curvy girls, as we was what I call them, and I hope that if they ever do listen to this podcast, I haven't really mentioned it. Well, if they do listen to it, it is dedicated to them. I do like a little bit of trivia, interesting pieces of truth, and especially if it's not commonly known. I was reading about extraordinary women in history with inventions in mind, and I found so much information, but here are but a few that I found. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Margaret E. Knight, Knight, born 1838 and passed in 1914. If you've ever used a paper bag, you can thank Margaret, Mattie Knight as she was known, the 19th century's most famous woman inventor. Born in York, Maine, she was most well known for a machine she built when she was just 30 years old, which folded and glued paper to create a flat-bottomed paper bag. It was popular, so popular, in fact, that a man tried to steal the idea to patent himself. When she took him to court for patent interference, He argued that a woman could not possibly understand the mechanical complexities. Knight won her case by providing proof that she had designed the machine, earning herself the right to patent her machine. She also went on to invent 100 other machines as well. Then there was a Josephine Cochrane, 1839 to 1913. She was an American inventor, and Josephine came up with the idea of a mechanical dishwasher, one that would hold dishes in a rack securely while under the pressure of a water sprayer, which then cleaned the dishes. And after servants had chipped heirloom dishes, she decided that she would invent something, and then her husband died in 1883, leaving her with substantial debt. And so she sort of had to make the dishwasher work and become profitable because it became a necessity for her to do so. She received her patent in 1886 and began marketing her dishwasher to hotels. Amazing. This is another one, Melita Benz, 1873 to 1950. If you like coffee, you can thank the German entrepreneur Melita Benz for making it easier to brew coffee. Because percolators often overbrewed it, and it was just a difficult thing to do. The espresso-style machines of her day left grounds in the drink, and linen bag filters were really difficult to clean. So after experimenting with different and multiple materials, she struck on the idea of using blotting paper from her son's school exercise book, and then she'd sort of nest it inside the brass pot perforated area with a nail, and then she got a patent and set up a business to manufacture her filters. Within a year, she was selling hundreds of her filters, including 1,200 at the 1909 Leipzig Fair alone. And by 1928, her company employed dozens of people. Another you may have heard of is Hedy Lamarr, 1914 to the year 2000. She was one of the most glamorous stars of the black and white film era, and she was also one of the minds behind an invention that provided the foundation for GPS, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technology. Austrian-American actress Hedy Lamarr was also a gifted mathematician and engineer. And when World War II broke out, she wanted to make a contribution to the war effort by improving torpedo technology. And working with musician and composer George Antheil, Lamarr developed the idea of frequency hopping, which could encrypt torpedo control signals, preventing enemies from jarring them and sending the torpedoes off course. Although Lamarr and Antheil were granted a patent for the idea in 1942, the US Navy ignored their technology for 20 years, finally putting it to use during a 1962 blockade of Cuba. Interesting, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. There were so many to choose from, so I chose those. Hashtag calling all matriarchs, acknowledging them in all their forms in our lives. Many of us can relate immediately to a mother figure, grandmother figure, sister, friend, our leaders, the ones who support us while we're attempting, new directions and requiring encouragement and direction along our way. And to the ones who invented paper bags, dishwashers and beyond, it is staggering, and I'm happy to shine a light on some of their achievements. So on this note, it is time to say once more, I hope this was interesting for you, and I'm grateful that you visited for a while. Say good day to the family for me, give the goat a pat, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.